Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we're trying a new Artistry palette. This is called the Groundwork Defining Neutral palette and it is quite the ambitious project. This says is made for eyes, brows, face and lips. As you can see, I already have some of my makeup on, but I left everything that this palette could be used for undone. So far I have on a primer, a foundation. I lifted my brows with a brow gel, but I want to use this new palette from Danessa Myricks to the max. I want to see the extent of the use we can give this one, and I also want to see if it has any limitations. If you guys are excited for today's video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up before you leave, and let's just go ahead and get started. The Groundwork palette from Danessa Myricks is now available at Sephora, and the retail price of this one is $65. Let's open it up and see what is inside this one. I have to admit, when I first got this palette, I did not think I was going to be doing a dedicated video to it. I thought I was just going to put it in as part of a Sephora haul, trying new makeup sort of video. However, once I saw like how they promoted this palette and what it's supposed to do, then I decided it was definitely worth a full video, because like I said, I want to do as much with it as I possibly can. So take a look right here at the outside packaging of this one. It has this beautiful dark copper type of metallic leathery finish to it. I know that was a long description, but like all of that. And then it has this metal plate right here up front that says Danessa Myricks Beauty Groundwork Defining Neutral, and it says everything that the palette is supposed to be used for. Just take a look right there at how beautiful the packaging is, and then once you open it, here's everything that you can find inside, starting with this huge mirror up there, as well as 10 different shades, each of which has a powder and also a cream format to it. Now I just had to touch this one because all the while I assumed that the big shade was the powder shade and the small shade was the cream shade, but it's the other way around. The cream is the big shade and the powder is the small shade. I really love the shade range, let's call it that, of this palette. It has a lot of different depth and also a lot of different undertones. And so the first thing I'm going to do with it is definitely my eyebrows, because I want to see how it fills the eyebrows. Plus, I think the eyebrows is the thing that I am the most skeptic about, because how is a palette that is going to blend beautifully on the eyelids and all of that also going to work on the eyebrows? I feel like for the eyebrows usually we have drier formulas, so we'll see. I'm excited. To fill in the brows, I'm going to use this small angle brush from Sigma. This one is the E65. And I have super dark brow hairs. However, I would not dare to put like the black shade on my eyebrows. So I am in between Sculpted and Bark. I think Sculpted is actually a little bit darker, and I think I want to go into the cream shade and see how that works on the brows first. Maybe I'll switch to the powder. Maybe I'll do a combination of both. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I have the cream sculpted shade, and I am going to just fill in my brow back here, starting with the tail. I like to start from the tail forward because I usually have the biggest gaps on the tails of my brows. Alright, as you can see, it's actually filling the brows really well. However, the color is not it, okay? So here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to combine the black with the brown, just kind of dipping my brush into both. And maybe with that mixture, I'll have better luck. I never fill my eyebrows in this way, so excuse me while I have some learning curves to go through over here, because I know the brow looks super thick right now. I'll fix it. I just want to make sure to fill in everything, and then I'll go back and remove the excess. Like I said, I never fill my eyebrows in this way, so it's definitely not something that I'm used to. I grabbed the Q-tip so that I can fix my mess up down here. That's not bad at all, actually, now that I have the right shape. I definitely needed to mix those two shades because the first color, Sculpted on its own, was a bit too light for my dark eyebrows, but the mixture of Sculpted and Tourmaline, which is the black shade, is definitely a much better choice for me. And they mix really well together. Alright, let's just see how I do with eyebrow number 2. Once again, starting towards the end of my brow back here and filling in the gaps. This one came out better, and I'll tell you what I did differently. I used less product right out the gate because I felt like I came in too strong at first on this one, and I was able to control where I was putting the product a little better, and then I already knew that I had to mix the two shades, so honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised so far. The brows look good. In order to soften the mixture, I just kind of dabbed off the brush on the back of my hand and worked from there on filling in all of the gaps. Here are the brows done. Pretty good in my opinion. Like I said, I'm impressed at how good the shades mix together. And that's the thing about an Artistry palette, is you don't have to take the shades for what they are. You can find the right combination of colors for yourself. So mixing the darkest two shades, I feel like gave me the right color for my brows. I could have continued with the lighter brown, but it just wasn't a perfect match for the color of my eyebrows. Anyways, let's move on. I have not set my face with any powder at all whatsoever because I had hopes to use the lighter bright shade right here as a setting powder, but looking at it, it's a bit darker than my complexion and also a lot more yellow than I am, so I just don't know that that would work. And I'm not sure if I should try it, but I am tempted to try it. This is the Wayne number 5 brush right here. And I grabbed a very small brush because I need to be able to get it in the powder. I will say the powder shades seem to be pretty small. So I'm grabbing a bit of that warm light powder right there, and starting back here I'm going to see if I can set my under eyes with it. Okay, that's not bad so far. I thought it was going to make my face look darker. No, it's pretty good. It's pretty clear. Grabbing a bit more of that setting powder, and I'm just going to set my under eyes with it. I'm surprised and happy that it's not making my under eyes very yellow looking. So let's do both under eyes. And I'm also going to set the center of my forehead with that powder. The under eyes look pretty good. I feel like that set the concealer well. I have an idea though. I want to use the cream color here for my eyeshadow kind of as a base slash primer. So with the reference number 36, I grabbed some of that color and I am putting it all throughout my eyelid area, all the way to right under my brow, right up here. And that actually is brightening my eyelid. So even though the color looks a bit darker and more yellow than my complexion, it's not darker at all. It has a beautiful brightening effect, and it does have a warmish undertone, but nothing that is too contrasting with the color of my skin. And I am pretty light, so if you, like me, thought maybe that color wouldn't work for you, we were wrong. Okay, so here are the eyelids primed, the under eyes set. Let's keep playing. I think I want to contour, so I'm going to go into the shade Chiseled. This is a Sephora collection number 47 brush. And with the shade Chiseled, I'm going to start defining my cheek right under here and blending it up. The color Chiseled has a beautiful cool undertone that is going to make it very easy to get a sculpted look. If you have a fair to light complexion, it'll work wonders for you. But I also want to mix it because I feel like it could work even faster if we were to mix it. And the shade that I think we could mix it with is the shade Bark down here. So I'm going to grab a tad bit of Bark and a lot of Chiseled. And with that mixture, I'm going to work on my forehead area and blend those colors into my hairline. See, I feel like getting that color on the forehead was a bit faster than what I did on my cheek, so I might touch up the cheek as well. I was just scared that the color Bark was maybe too dark, but what I'm learning is that these shades are very natural looking and very buildable as well, so they leave room for building them up, they leave room for blending them down. And I can definitely appreciate that, especially never having used this palette before, because it leaves room for me to make mistakes, you know? I grabbed a little bit of my bark and chiseled mixture to intensify the contour on my cheeks. And I'm going to continue to use that mixture right here on my jawline. Finally, I'm using a bit of those colors to contour my nose a bit. Not very precisely, as you can see, I just didn't want it to be pale. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this powder up here, the sandstone powder, and I'm going to set right next to my nose with it. The one complaint I have so far is definitely that that powder is way too small, because I feel like that would be a powder color that I would use a lot to set my face if I was going to be using this palette for as much as possible, you know? Now, none of the colors from the Groundwork palette are blushy colors on me, so in the spirit of continuing to use Danessa Myricks, I'm going to use this blush right here from her line. It's in the shade Bellini, and I'm going to apply this one on my cheeks to give my face a bit of a flush. And I'm being quite generous with the placement. I'm doing my cheeks, over my nose, and up to right underneath my eye. I actually think I want to do one more step with the same brush that I applied my blush with. I'm going into the shade Desert, and I am going to add Desert right in between the contour and the blush, kind of as a warmer type bronzer to give the face a little bit more warmth overall. I'm going to use it right here on my forehead as well. Just like this. I don't know if you can pinpoint the differences, but I feel like it overall made everything much more cohesive. Like I was seeing the blush and then the sculpt underneath, and now it kind of flows better. For the eyes, I'm going to start with the shade Mirage right here, and this is a refer number 1. And I'm going to use Mirage as my transition color, so I'm going to blend it all throughout the crease. I'm definitely trying to use as many shades as I possibly can to show you them on my face. Okay, so here's Mirage blended on the crease of my eye. And I'm using Cream Mirage so far, not the powder one. Switching to the shade Stone up here, also with the refer number 1. I just want to cool things down and darken things up a bit. So I'm applying it on the outer V of the eye, blending it into the shade Mirage. And this shade Stone is the most gray looking shade out of all of the shades in this palette. Just building it up right on the outer corner here. Okay, let me keep going. I want to use the shade Harvest. So I'm going to dip my refer number 1 in here, and I'm adding it to the outer third of my eyelid, just tapping it in place first and blending it into the rest of the colors. Same thing over on this side. I feel like you can definitely get the depth and blendability that you want using the cream shades alone, and that maybe the powder shades are there just to kind of set things in place once you get it to look the way you want it to look. At least that's the way I intend to use it today. So with another fluffy brush from Refer, I'm going to grab the shade Desert, the powder this time around, and with this one I am going to just kind of set in place everything I did all throughout my crease back here. This is a refer number 23, and I'm going to grab the shade Sculpted with it. And with this shade, I'm going to smudge the outer half of my under eyes, connecting it right here with the top and halfway in. A bit more of Cream Sculpted, and we're doing the same thing on the other side. With the refer number 13, I'm going to grab the color Desert up here, and I'm going to smoke out my lower lash line with it, back and forth down here. And I flicked up the smudgy color under my eyes purposely because I'm going to use it as a guide for a wing. Hopefully it'll come out okay, we'll see. So I'm smudging Desert right under my eyes. With a refer number 23 in the shade Sculpted, I am adding color to my waterline. As I said, I definitely want to see the extent of this palette. It's not the most pigmented color in the waterline, but you can definitely see it there. And I could have gone darker. I could have used the black shade. So back with my Sigma angled brush and the black shade. This time I'm going to create a half wing back here. I did a bit of an outline at first, and now I want to fill it in and intensify it a bit. And I'm trying to mimic that on this eye. I think that looks pretty cute. We just need to make it darker. So let me keep going. Okay, so here are my cream wings, and then with that same brush and the powder shade, this time the black powder shade, I'm going to set everything in place and hopefully also kind of darken them a bit more. Yes, definitely darken them a bit more. So far, so good. Just tapping it all over my wing. Woo. Okay, take a look right here. I cannot wait to put on some mascara because I'm liking the way this looks so far. And the category that we have yet to do is the lips, so let's go ahead and go for it. This is a Refer number 3 brush. And for the lips, I think I want to go into the color Harvest and use that as my lip liner. Harvest was a bit too warm for me, so I ended up combining it. A bit of Harvest, a bit of Stone. And I like this combo a little better. I ended up also switching my brush because the Refer number 3 was not it for this lip job. This is an A505 from BK Beauty. And then I'm going to use a pink gloss from Pat McGrath. This shade is called Aphrodisiac. And I'm mixing it with the lip liner. And so here you have the final lip look. I have a lot to say about this Groundwork palette from Danessa Myricks. Let me finish up my makeup by putting on some mascara, and I'll be back to give you my final thoughts. Back with mascara on, and this right here is the finished look using as much as I possibly can of the Groundworks palette from Danessa Myricks. Like I said, I have quite a few thoughts on this one, and I'm going to kind of start from the more negative things that I experienced all the way to the more positive ones. The thing that I didn't love most about this palette was the thing that I did last, and that was using the shades on my lips as lip liner. I wasn't going to do any of these shades all over the lips because I love rosy, nudie lips, and there's no rose tones in this palette, so I thought let's use it as lip liner. And in case of emergency, as you can see, the lip look turned out okay. I put a couple of these shades on as lip liner. I combined it with a rosy gloss, and after blending everything very well together, it ended up working nicely. I ended up liking what I have going on the lips today. However, I don't think it was a seamless experience. And I much prefer to just go in and grab a regular lip liner rather than having to do all this. In case of emergency though, if I didn't bring a lip liner with me and I needed a defined lip look, I would definitely grab for this as lip liner again, because like I said, it ended up turning out okay, but I just didn't love the experience of it. It wasn't very precise even after I switched my brush to a more dense synthetic flat brush. I found that I had to like go back and build and build and build, and so that was not my favorite. Using it as lip liner was not my favorite. However, it's definitely doable and it can give you a flattering result. And that is me with my light complexion. I feel like if you have a darker complexion than me, you might find it even easier to use some of these shades as lip liner, because these darker brown colors like Harvest and Bark and Sculpted might be more flattering as lip liner on a darker complexion. I used Harvest mixed with Stone. I ended up liking the result, but like I said, it wasn't super smooth, right? So that was my main thing that I didn't love about it. And then I have one more thing that's more so an observation rather than a complaint, and it is that if you, like me, have hooded eyes, using these shades as eyeliner might not be the best idea. The reason why is because, I don't know if you can see, back here. See that little half moon and this little half moon? That is from the eyeliner touching my crease up here and it transferring. So if you don't have hooded eyes and your wings don't touch anything, this would not be a concern for you at all. However, if you have hooded eyes and you want to use the black shade as eyeliner, it might transfer on you just like it's doing on me. It's not the biggest deal. I can very easily just kind of blend it in a little bit. See? Done, right? But it is transferring a little bit. With that said, I did really enjoy the process of making my wings today. I felt like it was a smooth process. I felt like I was able to draw them exactly the way I wanted them. I had a lot of control over what I was doing. I also really enjoyed setting the wing with the powder. I thought that was a very nice touch and it darkened up everything really beautifully. So in that sense, I have no complaints. When it comes to using the palette on the face, I didn't really have any complaints. I thought everything built up nicely, everything blended out nicely. I had a fun time thinking of what colors to mix with what other colors to get the result that I wanted. I got a nice sculpt going on my face. I bronzed up things a little bit. I really enjoyed the results of using this as a face palette. My only wish would be that I had a much larger powder color of this one so that I can set my face more comfortably, because going in with a small brush to just grab a little bit of that color is definitely not the funnest of processes. It takes a bit of patience and a bit of precision, plus I feel like I would just run through that color very fast. So I do wish that this powder color was a little bit bigger than it is, but again, that's just me being selfish, thinking of me and my complexion, because obviously a lot of different colors, skin tones are going to use this palette and have slightly different needs for different shades, right? Anyway, so I loved it for the complexion aspect of it. And then, of course, I also loved it when it came to the eyes. It was easy to use. It's not super pigmented right away because of its different functionalities, but you can get the shades to build up intensity. You can get the shades to blend out very easily. And then my recommendation would be to kind of work mostly with the cream shades, and then once you have the level of intensity that you want, then go in with a little bit of the powder color just to set things in place. That seems to me like a good idea, and it's also sort of how I interpreted her making the cream shades larger than the powder shades. So overall, I did really enjoy this palette and I do recommend it. I feel like especially for $65, you have a lot of uses to give the shades that are in here. You can do a ton of different eye looks. You can do your whole face with this palette, and she didn't make it super expensive. I honestly thought it was going to be pricier than the $65 price tag. Maybe I'm just now used to makeup being super expensive for no reason, but I think $65 is definitely very reasonable for this palette. It feels heavy, it feels luxurious, and it performed wonderfully on me today. So I really hope that you guys liked this review. I really hope that you liked me trying this palette to the maximum extent that I possibly could think of. I definitely wanted to see how much I could do with it and if the palette had any limitations. If you guys liked today's video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up before you leave. If you're interested in shopping for anything that I mentioned in today's video, everything is listed and linked down below in the description box. If you're interested in buying the palette, please shop the palette from my link down there. Whenever you shop from my links, you are helping out my channel. And that is all I have for you guys today. Please don't leave without subscribing if you haven't already. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.